All right, so we're going to press the gas block on with this rig here. And indeed, you could press it on with these pipes as well. Robert Forbes, and he does. I sound like an infomercial for Robert Forbes. He doesn't pay me anything. He's just a fantastic guy who makes stuff in America, and it's really good quality. So he sells a kit of different bushings for populating all of these. So there's like 3 ways to do this right, and I'm showing you kind of a mishmash, mostly because normally I use all this other specialized tooling that I've been alluding to. So I'm trying to do it in the way that is most accessible to the home builder. And so if you wanted to really cheap out, you don't absolutely have to get this tool. You could just get, there's a tool I'm going to show you, this little jig right here. You can get them from AK Builder, or I believe Robert makes them as well. And then a steel block that supports the trunnion, so you're pushing against the trunnion, or in this case, it doesn't have a trunnion, it's a milled receiver, but the complementary faces that would be the trunnion. And then push everything down with these pipes. You just want to be really careful to keep everything on axis. When we're pressing this far apart, a little bit of an angular variation makes a big sideways force. So things can, I don't want to say blow up on you, but you can get bending, you can get all kinds of unhappy stuff. Okay, so pop quiz. Look carefully at what I've done. And in mocking this up for you guys, I made an error. You see what it is? I left off the retainer. So this is the place, like, burn this into your mind. This is where this needs to go on. Okay. And you can just leave it locked on there now, and it won't hurt anything. If I can, I'm going to do this backwards here. Where's that divot? There it is. So we're just going to leave that there. You're going to want to do the same shoe shine thing. Don't use sandpaper unless it was really brutal when you got it off before. Just give it a little shine and then lube with red grease. Alright, so I'm going to take this down and show you the setup procedure. This comes out first. I bet Robert makes this. This one I made myself. So this is the setup. And let's go over and do our buff and setup, and then we'll go through the full setup over here. All right, so I'm going to fold this over so I don't buff or I don't remove the nitriding. It will totally blast through nitride and park. Just going to give it a little polish here. And this is, I'm being a little retentive by doing this, but in my experience, in my limited experience, it's made a difference. I may have mentioned it before while I'm buffing this out here. Gun Plumber, Arizona Response Systems, makes a really great book and 3 DVD set that is more than worth the $80 or whatever it is he charges for it. He has a very different way of building AKs, and it's the one that I generally use. He kind of does he's the only one I'm aware of doing the air hammer technique, and I really love it. It's a little bit of a capital investment up front to get the air hammer and stuff, but the amount of time it saves is incredible. So I'm going to grab some red grease again. That is way too much, but we'll just go for it here. I'm going to use since my fingers are too big, I'm just going to lube that up. Lube up all of this. Like most things in life, it's better with lube. Alright, so I'm going to roughly clock this right here. I'm going to look down. I'm just going to sight along the axis of the gun. One thing you can do carefully, don't do this on concrete, is once you have it where you want it, And what I'm doing right now is I'm sighting against these flat faces to here, to this edge. And you can do pretty good this way. So that's about where I want it. I'm just going to give it a sharp wrap downwards. And you want it in something where the material will give. You do not want to do that to your receiver. I'm going to check it again, and it's where I want it. You can always clock this in carefully with some padding and like a crescent wrench later on. You do not want to use, well, you want to be careful about what you grab down here, I'll put it that way. Pinning and then grabbing here is a pretty good place to be, but use caution. Okay, now let's get it back into the press. So this is a little homebrew tripod that I made up. Robert and AK Builder sell these. I had to edit this one to make it fit in a Century gun. They've done a bunch of different stuff, so I had to notch this out a little bit and change these two heights pretty dramatically, and then shave off that face of the bolt. They're fun to make on your own, but boy, I have a feeling that the Forbes built one would work a lot better. So this goes right in here, and then I've got this guy profiled so that he just slides right in like that. Again, if you don't have your own mill and stuff, I think Robert can get you squared away. All right, so we've got everything kind of lined up here. And I'm going to slide on this piece of chromoly tubing that he sells. Now we're going to do the same alignment deal. We might have to cant it just a little bit to clear the rather large magazine release on the Century gun. I'm going to tighten up my press here. I'll have to travel a little bit for this one. The guys at Rifle Dynamics weld little handles onto their hydraulic press release valves, and I've always been too lazy to do it, but it would save me a ton of time. So I'm having to cant quite a bit here to get it centered up. I'm going to cant as little as possible. All right, that looks sufficiently oriented for me. I'm going to be looking, you guys can't quite see it, but I'm going to be looking down these 3mm holes for the location of those pins. And hopefully I'll get it right this try. We may need to clock it a little bit. That's one real benefit of the air hammer technique. I would be just clamping this right here in soft jaws in the vise, and then I'd be banging right here downwards with the air hammer. Well, I'd be going sideways. And as it's going on, you can wiggle it. And you can do that with a hammer as well. And so you can steer the part right where it needs to be. It's a really handy feature of doing it that way. All right, so I'm about, I think, as vertical as I'm gonna get. And so I'm just gonna nice and gently press this on, and it's going sweet. I don't think I'm there yet, but I'm just going to clean out this hole and see if I can see the... no, I'm not. I'm going to go a little further here. Probably another... I think my press is out of gas. I may have to choke up on it. So I've raised the press up to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 from the top. And I'm just checking that nothing got wiggled or weird. I'm getting it recentered, and now we'll go our come back a little bit this way. Okay, last little bit. I'm going to go again nice and easy. Okay, I can see those half moons coming in. And I appear to be right on it now. Yeah, and it's been my experience with these that they kind of just want to go home once they've been populated. This is a lot harder on a virgin barrel. On these guns, when you're just swapping this out, everything just seems to kind of find home. So you guys saw where those holes are totally unoccluded, ready to have the next pin put in. So now we're going to put the front sight on, and I'm going to do the same shoe shine kind of thing. I'm just going to give this a little scrub, although it looks really nice. I'm just going to buff this out a little bit. Again, if you see any galling, you know, any smushed metal, real good idea to take a file to it, smooth it out, maybe touch it up with a stone or some fine grit sandpaper. I'm talking like 400, something like that. Get it to where we're at right now. Lube it up. You could use anti-seize in all of these places. But if I remember right, Jim Fuller uses, I think he uses white lithium. I've used red lithium. Both seem to work great. But for sure, anti-seize on the barrel, which we're not doing today. So I am going to take this thing out and I'm going to clock it again. So we can do that right here. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'll hold it up for you guys. I'm going to clock. I'm just going to look at these flat edges and line them up as best I can with the other components. So I'll bring that around like that. Now, if you have a canted front post, this is a diversion, or a digression. If you have an AK where, in order to shoot true, you've got it all the way over here and that bums you out, what you can do is drill these holes just a tiny bit larger and get like an 1/8 inch pin or just something a tad bigger than 3 millimeters. Re-drill and re-pin, and what you do is set this thing exactly in the middle, go to your range, shoot it, and take a wrench carefully with padding and torque it and move the front sight tower such that your windage is perfect. And that's like sometimes this clocking will be correct, but the barrel is not concentric, and for whatever reason the bullet, as it leaves the muzzle, diverts just a degree or less. So that's what's going on there, and it can really make a gun that feels like a piece of shit feel really good. So, okay, we've got it clocked where we want it. I'm gonna give it a little press downwards. I could give it a whack with a mallet. Not really, maybe I will. I'm gonna give it a whack with a soft face mallet here. It's pretty nice. I'm going to check that clocking one more time since I gave it a whack. It may be off a tiny bit, but I think we're still right where we want to be, and I'm going to just see how that works. All right, so back in with this guy. And back in with our bar, if I can find the right place for it. No, it's not. There we go. All right, we're set back up there. And as you press down here, there's a really good opportunity to skin the threads on the brake. So make sure that this pipe is concentric with the tower as you come down here.